Cimoooooooo!
Welcome to Tech Tuesday, a weekly series where we discuss some awesome tech cards as well as help make you a better player. This week's card is Storming Mirror Force, an incredibly powerful battle trap that's really just going to completely blow away your opponent. Now, Storming Mirror Force is almost identical to one of our favorite trap cards that we know and love, Mirror Force. Only difference being that is when an opponent's monster declares an attack, rather than destroying all attack position monsters your opponent controls, it returns all attack position monsters your opponent controls to the hand. Now, why is this a good tech card? Well, any opportunity that you have to return extra deck monsters from the field to the extra deck, especially in mass, is something that's highly desired. I mean, it's why we run like Compulse, because it does the same thing. It just eliminates the problem, and most of the time without triggering something as well, since a lot of Exceeds monsters, when they hit the grave, have some sort of effect. So Storming Mirror Force basically solves both of those problems in one. Now let's start with Burning Abyss. Now if you're facing down a board of a couple Dantes and a Virgil, Storming Mirror Force is going to be your best friend, because say they leave that card face down and they're attacking straight into it with no fear, most of the time they don't have to, because, you know, if it's a Mirror Force or anything like that, the Dantes and the Virgil are going to get destroyed and they're going to just go plus to your neg that you're going to take from the Mirror Force. But with Storming Mirror Force, you're going to bounce all three of those monsters back to the extra deck. You're not going to trigger the Dantes, the Virgil's not going to trigger as well, and you might trigger something underneath the Dante, but most of the time with Burning Abyss players, they've already used all of the effects beforehand. So with that being the case, you might not even trigger anything relevant, and most importantly, you're making sure that Virgil and Dante don't hit the graveyard so they can be recurred by Sir later in the game. The same principle goes with Shaddolls. I mean, you know, you're facing down like a Construct, maybe even a Winda, you know, a Shekinaga, like all these really powerful cards that are kind of hard to deal with, because if you destroy them, the Shaddol player just recurs the fusion spell and can summon them again anyway. Storming Mirror Force is really good because it'll bounce all of the fusion monsters back to the extra deck. They won't get to recur the fusion spell, and also, Winda's only immune to destruction, and so since this card doesn't destroy, you can just get rid of the threat right then and there. Storming Mirror Force is just really good at dealing with threats that come from the extra deck just with a one-card answer, because there's not a lot of cards that are kind of immune to that sort of effect. I mean, look at 101. You know, 101 can't be destroyed by card effects. Storming Mirror Force solves the problem. Trapeze Magician. Trapeze Magician can be kind of a pain in the ass to deal with while it's on the field, and not to mention it also triggers when it hits grave. Storming Mirror Force solves the problem. And I can just keep going on, you know, Dark Law, and then Stellar Knight Diamond, you know, any just real threat that comes from the extra deck, especially if there's multiple, Storming Mirror Force is going to solve the problem. And not to mention, it's still a Mirror Force card, meaning that it's going to be able to deal with multiple threats at once. And that's what's really good about it. It's not just going to worry about one thing like, say, Compulse would. This is going to take care of everything, meaning it's going to protect you from getting OTK'd. And if that's the case, if you're getting attacked by a couple monsters from the extra deck and then a couple regular effect monsters, you're going to get a little bit of advantage off of that, because then those monsters are going to get sent right back to the extra deck. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about Storming Mirror Force. Now, I wanted to talk about this card before the price kind of got spiked up because people kind of realized how good of a card it was, but we weren't close enough to Dimension of Chaos for me to do so. And the one other thing I want to warn you about is make sure that you're not going to be hitting monsters that have effects when they get summoned, because being able to bounce those back, unless you don't have a choice, that can be kind of bad, because if you hit something like a Mathematician, or maybe like a Deneb, or something like that, you're just going to be giving them more advantage. So that might not be the best application for this card, but nonetheless, it's still an incredibly good card. Thank you all so much for watching the video. We'll see you next week.
Cimoooooooo!